This is AC Starlord, aka Awesome. Welcome back to my channel. And this is going to be an episode review of Lois and Lane. Superman and Lois. My bad. Superman and Lois. Three, four, so three, four, and five. So in episode three, leads off after episode two, where Superman's still dead. As you can see back here, he's alive, but I'll get into that in a second. Superman's dead, and then they make the ultimate sacrifice that they know that they're not gonna have their father around, so um Lois has to write an article about how he's dead. And literally that's the name of the game here. Um, the Death of Superman comic book, which I'll get into a little bit in this as well, into these review and this review of these episodes. Um, it's just a simple fact of the matter that she has to write an article called Superman's The Death of Superman, which is based off of this whole series is based off that graphic novel. So she writes that, and then let me hold on. Um, that John Kent and Jordan Kent have to basically like well help their mother out with things like that, but also Jordan trying to be the best Superboy he can, but he tried that in the other episodes where he the Superman's his father's heart gets stomped on by Lex Luthor, and then all this other stuff that he blames himself for, and then we find out Jonathan Kent or John Kent gets um John Kent gets powers and he's navigating that, and then he's also going to get trained by General Lane eventually, um, Sam Lane or General Lane eventually, and the mom Lois Lane agrees to it, and then Jordan is just moping around like, oh my gosh, like I blame myself for all this other stuff that happened, and the thing is, in the comic aspect of this. What I've been reading is basically Doomsday comes down on his own merit on Earth as a human being, like a human alien creature thing, and searches for Superman himself, not sent by not sent by Luther, but the not sent by Luther, but sent by his own merit, his own onto Earth on his own merit to hunt down Superman himself, and it causes problems in the meanwhile. And that's in the comics. Now I'll get more into that later. And then we get Sam Lane agreeing to that, and so does Lois Lane agrees to it. And then Lois goes to her son. John says, "Hey, he's willing to train you." Before that can even happen, Jordan meets up with Lex Luthor, shows him a voicemail that he sent over to to her mom, and saying that he picked Jonathan over him and be saved. And she's like, "Yeah, he doesn't have no superpowers and stuff like that, but he's your favorite son, right?" That he gets all upset. She said, "Don't say that to me. I love you guys both equally." Um, Lex Luthor is lying to you, and Lex Luthor is that type of person that will do that to people. Now going back to the comics, Doomsday is just wreaking havoc, and then Booster Gold and the Green one of the Green Lanterns. Um, I don't know his name. One of the Green Lanterns and one of the other people from the JSA and Superman find Doomsday and help a family fight him off basically from their property. He runs through their building and runs through their house and puts it on flames, and then they the JSA people get hurt. Go Booster Gold and one of the Green Lanterns, and Superman's going after Doomsday after their house is on fire, and the kid calls for Superman, and Superman's like, if I don't chase down Doomsday, things gonna be some other things are gonna happen. So here's the thing that happens in the comics. This happens differently in the show. So um, Lois Sam or Sam Lane or General Lane makes the ultimate sacrifice to put um some formula that was made from Superman's blood from the last season in his body after he gets shot by one of his soldiers because the soldier was bribed by um Lex Luthor to find where where his daughter is at, Elizabeth was at, or Lily, I think no, Lily was at, and either way, it doesn't really matter. It's just a different name, but trying to find his Lex Luthor trying to find his daughter. He's like not gonna give up, not been giving up where her location is. Always said that he said he always gonna protect her. He made a private message for um his family, and they had John Henry Irons and his daughter Natalie helping them out because that's technically their her grandpa because on another from the last season from another Earth, which if you haven't seen it, another Earth, and I'll get into Doomsday why Doomsday is different from the comics here soon. Um, they did a private message. He gets killed by Doomsday because Lex Luthor has been trying to say, "Where's my daughter? Where's my daughter?" And he's snacks, but the only snap, but the only way he knows for Superman to be alive in this image right here is to have try to find a donor, and they explains that to the rest of his family, rest of Clark Kent's family, aka Superman, that the only way he's been trying to find a donor heart for Superman, but the only way that can happen is if he makes the ultimate sacrifice to do it himself, and he does. And of course, you have Lois Lane being upset, crying over that because it's her father, and same thing with Jonathan and Jordan and so on that finding out. So it's then Jordan feels like that's his responsibility as well, that he tried to try to get Dad's heart and also tried to, why did his grandfather died, but all that onto him. And that's pretty much, and then at the very end, you see the mourning about the grandfather, John Henry Irons and Natalie and all of them. And they all try to fight off Doomsday, of course, at that time as well, while the grandfather was dying. Um, and they were successful. And then basically, then towards the end of that episode, they had a funeral and they had laid him on the rest at his farm because they took the body there. And we see no other than Superman waking up. And then the next episode, which is episode 4, you see Superman training his son Jonathan because Sam was supposed to do it. Sam Lane was supposed to do it, but he did it because he has his heart and also with that. But also from the previous episode, they have that message telling like, look, he calls his Lois Lane his pumpkin. Hey, pumpkin, this is I'm I'll never forget. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. You made me a father. All this other good stuff that he said. I can see why what Superman said to me when we first get married, when you guys first got married, and there was flashbacks of when they first got married and stuff like that. And it was kind of cool to see that he didn't have her, but they didn't give her, he didn't give his daughter Lois Lane their blessing until later on. But he realized after Superman asked for that blessing, he's like, I'm not going to leave your daughter. What if there, he said, but what if there's a chance that you did, like opportunity if he ever died or whatever, right? And he's like, well, I'm never gonna leave her. and some of that. And he understood that when he gave him his heart. And so going to this, he has going to the next episode, he has her father's heart and his body, and he's still trying to adjust to it. He's not fully in strength, but that's the whole point. When Superman comes back to Superman Lives, he comes back with full strength. He doesn't have someone else's heart, which is really weird that they do it. And it makes it realism. But as Superman Lives, he comes back to life, just like he's Jesus, because he basically is DC's Jesus and everything like that. I know Deadpool made a joke about it. I know this is DC video, but I know Deadpool made a joke about it. I'm Marvel Jesus, but literally, he is pretty much a godlike being. He's Jesus, just like Jesus. So literally, he comes back to life. But this, they made it more realism that he has someone else's heart to pump him back up to life, and it does. And he trains his son, and while he's training his son, he's flying. He falls into the ice, and they basically tell him to lay low, and then they have a wedding. Basically, that next episode was about having a wedding for um um Sarah's father with I had the character, it's somewhere here. With Christy, uh Babu, Babu, Bebo or whatever, and they were gonna do a wedding and all that stuff like that. You also have like a heart to heart with Sarah and Jordan, like, why are you hiding? And he tells him like all this stuff happened with my father coming back, and also my father dying and stuff like that. But you can see that they still like each other, and they basically had a wedding. I mean, they didn't have a wedding, but they had a party. And then you see that and you see that John tried to protect one of the people that was looking for Lex Luthor, couldn't do it because he's so young. And the Superman comes back with the suit that looks like this, the suit that looks like this. It looks like exactly um like a Man of Steel suit. Like they literally gave him a Man of Steel suit because if you look in the this is a blurry kind of blurry picture, but you can kind of see how it looks just like the Man of Steel suit. And then you look inside the Superman symbol, it looks like just exactly the same material as the Man of Steel suit from Henry Cavill, which is amazing. And maybe Henry Cavill they just put a new boat, just to put a new belt around it. It may be his suit. Who knows? I don't know. He's like, Biden say that lady got away. He said it doesn't matter as long as you save lives. And man, Superman came back and freeze breath that dude, and took out that dude like there was no tomorrow, for a guy who's been dead and come back to life. Um, so that was pretty much that. I mean, then Jordan let's go and lay low to figure out some things because he still, he made up with his mother about the phone call, picking Jordan because he said, I mean John, because John didn't have powers back then. But it's like no, I mean powers then, but like he's like no, that's not it. I just failed you, and it feels like I failed you. She's like no, you never failed me. You doing your best you can, kind of thing. Then they had a party, and also like Christine ran off, and they didn't want to get married. They want to take their time. They had a party, and that's pretty much essentially like the end of that episode because it's like that was kind of like a filler episode. They had a wedding and also nothing really big happened. Just like, that lady, Lois Lane just forewarned that lady, hey, if you don't talk to me, Lex Luthor will take names and won't be afraid to kill them. The people you love or people you're with or associate with. So basically, Lex Luthor takes names and kills people pretty much. Um, then the next episode, episode 5, they were having a getting ready for the Fourth of July celebration. All the teenagers, of course, obviously, and then not Jordan, Jonathan flies Lois Lane to see Lex Luthor's daughter, and you get the backstory between Lex Luthor and um, his wife and his daughter, flashbacks, and you see the beard and the curly hair. So in the comics, he has kind of long hair and a beard and orange, but his wife wasn't his wife. He was dating Supergirl. In the comics, it took me way back when I was reading it earlier today. He's like, no, Supergirl in the comics, like, should I help out my cousin, I should help out my cousin, right? I should be, there. And he's like, no, my Supergirl, you stay with me. Like, so why was Lex Luthor dating Supergirl in the comic? I don't get it. But then also in the comic, he was still fighting he's still fighting Doomsday, and one of the teenage kids with the at the house that he was found Doomsday, and they were trying to fight him off, yelling out for the kid. He's like, "Yeah, I hear you, kid, but I'm here trying to take out this guy. I want to take out this guy before he leaves. I want to take out Doomsday before he leaves." And the other Justice Leaguers help out. So that's kind of where I'm at. And then from that point on, there, and then you get flashbacks about like the relationship between him and his Lex Luthor and his daughter, and how it's important that like, oh, he gets revenge for the Clark family because Lois Lane did this and this and that to the family, takes away 18 years away from his life with her. They eventually met up. Lex Luthor and his daughter finally met up, and it didn't go so well the first time. Then Clark Kent, being Clark Kent, says, "Hey, I miss my father. My father is gone. I miss him very well, so much, and I didn't have the opportunities to do certain things like you can have the opportunity." And then they get into a heart to heart, but basically, um, Lex Luthor's daughter pretty much says you haven't changed since I was a little kid, since you got, the first allegations of like, being in jail. And then Doomsday is not the Doomsday that we know in the comics. When the Doomsday in the comics, basically, going back to the comics, Superman fights Doomsday all the way to Metropolis in two different counties, just like he did in the first two episodes, but they weren't in space. They were on Earth. So this goes went from Smallville to Metropolis in no time. Um, or wherever they were in the comics. I knew think they were in like Metropolis in the, the suburbs, but you get my point. Like it's from they were on Earth and stuff like that. So that's enough from the comics. It's completely straight from the comics. But here's the difference between Doomsday comics. At first, he's an alien that came down from his own merit. This is Bizarro Superman. So we find out Lois Lane contacts him while Jordan and Jonathan were at a party while they were at a 4th of July party where Jonathan's girlfriend came down, and then Jordan has to distract her because Lois keeps on asking Jonathan for help because Jordan stepped away from being Superboy. He's now the new Superboy. John is no Superboy, and his girlfriend wants to know why, and they make up a story about charity. But anyways, Lois Lane finds out that Bizarro Superman is Doomsday because as Superman was trying to have a heart to heart with Lois Lane, and Superman was trying to have a heart to heart to with Lex Luthor. My bad, Lex Luthor at one point he didn't get through. Try to have and also try to send his daughter in to have a heart to heart. The only heart to heart that only happened in this episode was Lois Lane with Doomsday, which ends up being Bizarro Superman because Doomsday keep looking at Lois Lane from the second episode to the other encounters that they had in these other episodes. His head tilts back and sees who the Doomsday sees who Lois Lane really is, and Jonathan, Jonathan sees that he that had the grandpa's old EEP, and he goes try to save his mom. Is like, no, you got to go back to your party, go back to your party. But then we see later on in the episode, towards the end, that Lois, like, you know me from something. You had a family. You got married. You had a family. You had all this. You had your life in a different world, but you got married. You had two kids. You had all this stuff. Whenever Lex Luthor was asking you, don't do it. Don't hurt my family, because she saw that it was actually Doomsday. I mean, she actually saw that it was Bizarro Superman from the last season, that was from a different Earth trying to hunt down Superman for a reason too. He was also controlled, but realized it was Bizarro Superman from another Earth. It was a different Superman. So again, like I said with John uh, Henry, John Henry was also married to Lois Lane in a different universe as well. So there was different universes going on. So that's why how Natalie is connected to the grandfather, and this is how Bizarro Superman's connected to Lois Lane as well. And it's kind of an interesting idea what they do in there. But again, this is different from the comics. And then they also reason why Lex Luthor found out he has to handle Superman because they wrote an article called Superman Lives, and that's the next issue of the comics as well as Superman Lives. So it's a very different, unique, interesting way of looking at Superman Lives and the death of Superman. But nonetheless, I'm enjoying it. But Lex Luthor is in this one in a very like look, the guy they play him as bald, he looks tough and also, but like just the way he acts is so like I laugh at every time he makes a threatening thing because it's like, do you really have to be that threatening? You can't be. That's you're throwing it in. You're as an actor, you're throwing it in your threateniness. It's not that threatening. Like I'm more scared of him being more threatening, Superman being more threatening than Lex Luthor in there. I'm sorry. Then the next episode, there he's still trying to plan that. Next episode coming up, Lex Luthor's going to plan something to try to take out Clark or Superman or whoever because it didn't work with his daughter because his daughter sees that he's still the same because he still wants revenge off of what Lois Lane did to his family. And she's like, I don't want you to be part of my life. I don't want you to be part of my grandchild's life. All that stuff because they didn't have a heart to heart, but she's like this time I'm asking all those years ago, I didn't choose to stay with my mom. I choose to stay with you. I'm asking you to let this go forward. I'm asking you to choose, come pick me or keep doing this. And he picked keep doing that. So basically, Lex Luthor is going to be Lex Luthor in this, but that's pretty much how it is. And then Jordan tells Johnson's girlfriend the truth about everything about how dad's Superman, how he's has superpowers, and all of a sudden you have a sweet brother, and then that fireworks, and then he basically Superman's like, "We gotta take you and the kids to the fortress," like, and she's like, "No, come and sit down and watch fireworks with me. Like, we have nothing to worry about." I have a heart to heart with Bizarro slash um um Doomsday monster, and he's not gonna come and harm us, and then Lex Luthor realized that, yeah, someone called him and he's never coming back. Now, the thing is, Lois and Superman and the family and also says, oh, Lex Luthor's going to call out call um, that thing at us. That thing, that he's going to call that thing to come and get us. That thing is named Doomsday. I don't know why they don't want to call it Doomsday. I don't know if they don't have rights to the actual comic of Death of the Superman or whatever. They don't want to call it Doomsday. They called They called before he turns to Doomsday. They called him Bizarro Superman or the other Superman or the evil Superman. I mean, either way, it was the other Superman, evil Superman, or Bizarro. I mean, they said that, but they can't call him Doomsday now. Is there something weird about that? And then like also when Jordan was like, "Oh, your favorite son is Jonathan," like that was stupid. Like, of course, that's manipulating and controlling your son to make him lean on there and tell him that his mother's a liar and all stuff like that. And even says like all those stuff that to his daughter, to Lex Luthor's actual daughter, all Lois Lane's lying to you. Like it's just those things like that are kind of simple, kind of weird, but like And Sarah is Sarah, but like there was one scene where they're prepping for the wedding. And it's like, what you doing up here? Why you hiding? And then, then he's like, well, I'm just watching our coach be a DJ. I'm like, yeah, I didn't know you can do that either. And then they're like, everything's been complicated lately. Well, how about you uncomplicate that with me? How about you uncomplicate that with me? Like, really? Like, you still like him? You still like him? You broke up with him, but you still like him? You want to do something else with it? Like, come on, Sarah. We get it. We get it. Um, but other than that major stuff from Superman, coming back to life and dying and stuff. It's a very interesting way of looking at these things because the way he comes back to life is not from Sam Lane or General Lane's heart. It's he just comes back to life like he's Jesus. So because he's kind of like DC's I mean Jesus, Messiah sort of thing. Like he's a godlike being. So yeah, I mean, I believe in God, but hopefully God knows what I'm talking about. I mean, hopefully I'm not spreading your name in the bad vein, but like it's pretty much truth. I mean, which we looking from literature, what other person that came back to life? I mean, what person died and came back to life and then is still alive? Jesus. Well, where does this story come from? I mean, for Superman, right? He died, he came back to life, and he's still alive. So, yeah. Anyways, that's just kind of a cool way of looking at things. But, anyways, if you like this video, put a like, comment, subscribe, and notification bell, and I'll be back with some more Superman videos and hopefully also wrapping up with Penguin because I'll eventually watch Penguin here pretty soon with the season finale and everything like that. So, put a like, comment, subscribe, and notification bell, and deuces.